Hello, everyone. Today I have the pleasure to interview our 14th guest for 2024, CoWano Stanley. CoWano is from Arkansas, but she grew up in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and she now resides in Las Vegas, Nevada. At the age of 20, one of the most significant events in her life was the birth of her son. As a single parent, she completed two master's degrees. That's impressive, and she is currently working on her doctoral degree. CoWano left the corporate world in accounting in 2018. She became a full-time entrepreneurial at 39 years of age. While raising her son, she went through some tough times. She began to experience a lack of confidence within herself due to several abusive relationships and challenges as a single parent. As a result, CoWano's goals were not achieved due to the lack of confidence. So she learned how to build and increase her confidence daily. CoWano is now a speaker, a confidence coach, and an author of several books. And I will share the list at the end of the video on all the books that she has written. CoWano now coaches women how to reclaim and increase their confidence caused by trauma or life experiences so they can achieve their goals and walk in purpose. Our topic for today is reclaiming and increasing your confidence. And at the end, CoWano will share some words of encouragement for those who have been struggling with some of the things that she has gone through. And with this being said, I welcome CoWano to this podcast, Be an Encourager. My first question to you, can you share a little bit about your background? How did you become a Christian? How and when did you feel the need to change and why?
Okay. So a little bit about my background. I grew up in the church, Baptist church. So I have been aware of God for a long time. I know I was really young when I got baptized. Don't remember that age, but God has been with me in my entire life because I grew up in the church. So I always knew where He was. Whenever I got lost or I strayed away, I knew where to go back to. Um, I became a single mother at the age of 20.
Mhm.
My son is now 24 years old. And through the process of me, my father was an alcoholic. Thank God he's been sober 13 years now. But he was an alcoholic. So my mother left that situation. So I was aware of those situations of domestic, from physical to verbal, mental. I knew that. And somewhere down the line, I chose the bad ones. And so I went through raising my son, going through domestic violence for 16 and a half years in several different relationships. And so with that, it allowed me to be in a place where I lost my confidence. I allowed my confidence to be stepped on. I allowed it to be diminished, faded away. So only thing I was doing was basically surviving and just taking care of my son. I myself wasn't even a belief in me at that time. So I kind of just went through the motions. I looked at it as I was just existing. I wasn't living. So once I got in a place of going through that mentally affecting me so bad to where I just had no reason to even be here anymore.
Mm.
So I went through a moment of deep depression, anxiety, to a place to where I almost wanted to take my own life. And that was just between 2012 and 2013 when that incident happened. And thank God I didn't. So I'm here today because God still allowed me to be here for a purpose and helping others to know how to reclaim and increase their confidence on a daily basis.
Thank you for sharing that remarkable story. Thank you. So, the topic for today is reclaiming and increasing your confidence. And can you share about a time in which you felt that you were struggling with your confidence? What and how and were you able to determine that this was what you were struggling? How were you able to work that around and turn it around for your better? And what step did you take towards gaining that self-confidence?
I think where I started realizing my confidence was when I wanted to take my life, and God sent my son in the house. He was at the time, he's maybe sixth or seventh grade, and God just used him to come in the house to just call my name and check on me. And that is what stopped me from taking my own life. And at that moment, that's when I said I had to make a change, make a difference. And I actually started at that moment, really started getting into the affirmations, speaking to myself, to encourage myself. And it went years, of me taking the time to really tap into who I was, really start doing the self work, really start taking the time to put myself in better surroundings, better people, better company. And that's a process because it doesn't happen overnight. You just wake up, okay, well, I'm just going to get rid of everybody in my life now and I'm going to start over. Well, it's a process in doing all of that when you're doing the self work because you have to know what it is that you need to do first. You need to take the first step before, of course, of admitting, okay, I have a lack of confidence. I have a lack of confidence in this area or that area. There's so many areas where you cannot believe in yourself. It can just be one moment of a rejection. It can be a moment of um, losing a spouse. It can be the moment of losing a job. There's just so many life situations that can get you in a place of not believing in yourself. So I started literally doing the steps of, first, of course, going to God and asking God to, remove me from these places and situations that I didn't belong, putting me in better spaces, putting me around more encouraging people that was inspirational, people that gave me criticism, but in a good way, to where I wanted to change. So it all starts within the mind, of course, with me, and started with making the decision to change. The mindset is huge on anything that you want to do. It starts with the mind and the thoughts. I started getting back into speaking life and not death, and the power of my tongue. I started, getting around people that were doing something greater in life than I was, in directions of where I wanted to go to. And somewhere down the line, it started slowly. Sometimes God will start removing people out of your life, and you will look up and be like, what happened to them? What happened? You don't even know why, but God find a way to remove them out of your life sometimes. So it started with me doing all of that, doing the work. And that's the hard part that most people have a hard time doing, is doing the work. Taking the first step and just said, okay, I need to make a difference. I need to make a change within me first. And so with me doing that, it led me into a place in 2017 of writing my first book. I've written, as of just recently, my fifth self-published book will be released on the 29th of this month, called The Power of Confidence: 7 Ways to Reclaim and Ignite Your Confidence. But I have a total of 14 books. The other 9 are co-author books with other co-authors, and 3 of those co-authors be some of my mentor coaches, as well as Les Brown, the #1 motivational speaker in the world. So I started with that, and then somewhere along me coming an author, I ended up being in spaces of coaches and that were doing coaches and speaking. So I started investing in myself, learning how to speak on stages, learning how to share my signature story, tie my story. That 2021 was the first time I started sharing my story with the world of going through a lack of confidence, my confidence being snatched away, diminishing and fading away, and me going through domestic violence. That was the first moment of me speaking to the world and share my story. So I started investing in myself, and going from there, I had already did the work. I was still, even today, I still always go through a healing process because, when you have 16 and a half years of domestic violence, you still have a time to process some stuff that you still, and it comes little by little for you to get away, seeing a therapist, seeing a spiritual advisor, being around. I mean, there's a group of, surrounding support system that you need when you're going through those moments.
Wow, what impressive process. And I want to mention 2 things that we should highlight. The number one that you mentioned was working on yourself, support your own self, basically, right? That you can do this, and changing that whole mindset instead of allowing all that negative voices to overshadow what you're trying to do. You fought back and you said, no, this is, what I'm going to do. I am confident, and you started doing some motivational self-motivation. And then the next thing that I heard was that support system, that in a process like this, and we have similar story, by the way, I can relate to what you were sharing. we need the support system. We need people from church, and we need the counselors, and we need to work. And like you said, the process is a continuous process of healing. So thank you. I just wanted to highlight those points because I think they're important for the viewers, listeners also to hear it again. So there's a quote that goes like this: confidence isn't walking into a room thinking you are better than anyone, it's walking in not having to compare yourself to anyone at all. And the author is unknown. And there's another quote that I want to share with you is, um, self-confidence has limited potential, but God confidence has unlimited possibilities. And this is by Renee Swoop. What trait does a confident woman or man possesses that distinguish them from others?
For me, I think each person has their own unique way of who God created them to be. God states in His Word that we are all wonderfully made. He's created us in our own different way, and doing the self work, you figure out what makes you unique. Um, I know one of the things that I've learned doing the self work, even with doing the self work, I've learned that even back in high school days, I was already inspiring and motivating, encouraging people. And it just so happened that, women have came to me and just say, hey, you remember when you encouraged me to do this? And I'm like, no. So I think I already had that anointing and that power in my voice to encourage and inspire others to want to be better for themselves. When it comes to confidence, you have to know without a doubt of who you are and whose you are. You have to know and accept what your skills are, your abilities are, your gifts and your talents, and you have to run with that. And those things will actually walk you into your purpose. Um, Believing in yourself takes a lot because of the fact that there's so many things out there to easily look at others and say why that's not me, why I can't do, and that's where the self-work comes in, the self-accountability, the discipline that you have to do with yourself and believe in who you are. Who did God call you to be? And you don't figure that out without doing the self-work. And believing in yourself, having the confidence in yourself takes you accepting who you are, the good, the bad, and the ugly. There's going to be some things that you need to change about yourself. And there's going to be some things that God don't want you to change because that's what makes you unique in who you are.
Mhm.
I challenge myself all the time in areas that I'm just like, oh, I don't know if I can do this one. But when I do challenge myself and I get through those challenges, it helps me even more to believe in my confidence.
Mhm.
So every accomplishment goals that you can do, it builds and fuels your fire of your confidence. It ignites your confidence. So you have to figure out what is that thing that makes you so confident, make you believe in yourself without a doubt in your mind. And for me, I'm super ambitious. I'm super driven. I'm very goal driven. And so when I tap into the goals that I want to accomplish and the things I want to do, it drives me to my confidence. It drives me to that purpose. And I've learned that walking in my purpose and teaching others how the tools and the strategies to increase their confidence, to believe in themselves, it really fuels my fire of me doing the work that I need to do for others because I am somebody's prescription to their pain.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you for that amazing clarification and that encouragement. And I heard you mention that doing that introspection, it's a painful process because we have to look within and know the weaknesses and the strengths that we have and the things that we need to change or not change. So that's important, for the person to gain confidence, to know all those areas where we have to grow. So thank you for sharing that. So my next question, we understand that self-confidence is not just about only believing in our inner self, but also believing that God will see you through in everything that you decide to do. In Hebrews 10, verse 35 and 36 states, do not throw away your confidence. It will be richly rewarded. You need to persevere so that when you have done the will of God, you will receive what he has promised. There are times in our lives in which we place our confidence on other things besides God, and we rely on our own self-reliance instead of His will for or purpose for our lives. And when we forfeit seeking His guidance or direction, sometimes because of ego, and sometimes the egos get bigger than our faith, and this condition blinds our spiritual eyes to not seek Him in all that we do. Do you agree with this statement? And if so, can you elaborate on what the listeners should do if they find themselves in this place? And what strategy do you recommend for anyone who is facing this dilemma in their lives at this moment?
Yes, when you're faced with difficulties or just even in a place of not believing in yourself, you do have to seek God. You have to ask, you have to pretty much surrender to God and go to God and never be afraid to go to God with anything. God is there to take you through the process, take you through your moments, take you through your good and your bad. He is there not to harm you. And you have to understand that one of the things, the tools that I teach is meditation every day.
Mhm.
Find that right time that you can meditate and have that moment with just you and God, that moment where you're just, in a moment to yourself, close the door, 30 minutes, whatever that time may be. You have to find the time to where you can be connected with God every single day, because every day is going to have something different and you don't know what the day holds for you. So if you're connected with God and you're seeking God, you can be in a place as you go through your day. If any unexpected situations come about, God has pretty much prepared you for it, for a response that will not take you in a place of not believing in yourself. I can't remember who stated the quote, but the quote talks about 10% is what happened to us, 90% is what we react to. So
Mhm.
it's like, how are you responding when you're in those moments and you don't have the confidence? And when you don't have the confidence, and don't get me wrong, there's moments when life still happens for me too. But
Mhm.
what I do is go into my prayer closet and I meditate. I get in a space of connecting with the mind, the body, and the spirit so that it balances out in a way that I'm not responding in a way that's going to take me down a dark path. Because at the end of the day, good and bad goes together. There's
Mhm.
no one without the other. So you have to look at the good. And then there's some situation you have to take control off. We cannot control every situation. So when you remove the control out of your hands and allow God to take control, God to take the wheel. When you
Yeah.
trust God, there's many people that believe in God but don't trust God. You have to
Mhm.
be able to trust God in every situation. And when you pray to God and talk to God, have confidence that whatever you ask in His name, it will be done according to His will.
Thank you. That is an amazing words of encouragement. And the main focus should be, like you said, to trust in God that His will get done in our lives. Thank you for sharing that. So my next question for you is, as a role model and Christian mentor, how do you want to encourage all the listeners of this podcast on this day who have experienced a lack of confidence or who are currently experiencing that lack of confidence? And if you can also share a word just to encourage the rest of the other listeners who may not, have that issue going on with lacking self-confidence.
I want to encourage anybody that if you're dealing with a lack of confidence, or you don't never know when you may be dealing with a lack of confidence. So anybody that go through a process of change, of experience a lack of confidence, first, you have to get in a place of meditation. You have to get in a place of prayer to where you can really see where things are, see what the reality is, and then start tapping into the spiritual mindset. Tap into God to lead you in the right direction. Not only that, you want to understand that it's okay. Your feelings are valid. Your
Mhm.
emotions are valid, but you have to be in a space that you don't go in a place of depression, a place of anxiety, a place of isolation. So I want to encourage you to first get use motivational music, use some motivational audios. We all can go to a YouTube and pull up any motivational sermon from Les Brown, Tony Robbins, Eric Thomas. There's so many people you can pull up a YouTube video and get some encouragement if you don't know how to encourage yourself. So find something or someone that can encourage you to even start in the process of the lack of confidence. Then you have to get in a place of writing affirmation. Affirmations are very powerful if you know how to use them.
Mm-hmm.
You have to write affirmations according to what you see, where you see yourself in life. What do you see yourself in life? Because it's what you tell yourself is what matters. So
Mm-hmm.
what are you what is your mind telling you who you are, where you are, in spite of what your situation look like? So I want you to do affirmations. I want you to listen to motivational audios or music that are encouraging. I want you to find what makes you happy. What is it that really makes you happy? Is it you reading a book? Is it you riding a bike? Is it you exercising? And by the way, exercising helps release stress. It helps even the blood when you're doing breathing exercises. It helps allow the blood flow properly. Also, I want you to, if you ever deal with a lack of confidence, I want you to think of somebody in the world. You can even look on news and see somebody's worse off than you. And so that you are truly blessed in where you are, and understand that every season is necessary in your life. There's no, you can't go through a fall without a spring, without a summer. Every season is necessary in your life. You got to have the rainy days. You got to have the sunny days. Everything takes that to grow. But you have to understand, if you want that lack of confidence to go away, you got to start doing the work. Start doing the tools that you need every day. Write down how you're feeling. Get those feelings out. Don't keep them bottled up inside. Get a therapist if that's what you need, depending on your situation, what you're dealing with. It can be weight issues that you might be dealing with if it comes to a lack of confidence. Get with somebody that can help you start, encouraging your weight. Somebody have may gone through a weight situation. So there's so many things that can cause you to lack of. It can be you losing a job. Well, we know God may have put a reason for you to lose that job, for you to do something else, something greater for you. So start looking at the things that if there are bad, there's a positive outside of it.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So that's what I will encourage you to do, is definitely find some motivational, encouraging something from somewhere. And when we got the internet, we can find that. Put our mind, what you put in your mind is what determines the direction you're going. What are you feeding your mindset with? If your atmosphere is surrounded with bad energy, get in a place where, if you're in a community, go out. Go out and find the community. Get in a positive. Even on the internet, you can find positive people that are in a community. So it all got to start with you taking a step in looking in a direction of positive.
Mm-hmm. Those are great words of encouragement, by the way. You mentioned many great important things that we should do as to work on ourselves and changing that mindset to a more positive mindset by doing self-affirmation, self-compassion, I will say too, self-compassion that goes in hand with going to therapy and evaluating the places where you're lacking the confidence. This is important for the person because they might not know what area is causing the lack of confidence. And
Yes.
that, again, like you mentioned earlier, that requires that introspection of looking at those positive and negative things that are in our personality, our character, or any habits that we have to change. So you mentioned also something about those difficult situations that we go through, that we have to look at those lessons and what did we learn from that, and then move on and change it for our good. So I appreciate your time. I appreciate the amazing, encouraging words that you have. And I think this is going to be very helpful for a lot of individuals who need to hear this today. So I thank you so much, CoWano. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome anytime. I mean, I just want people to be in a place to want to be better and walk in their greatness. But you can't do that when you don't want to tap into who you are. And so I think it's the root problem of people not want to tap into the bad side or the things that may have happened in their past. But there's no healing if you don't, the healing doesn't start until you actually pull that root up and get it out.
Yes, you're exactly right.
So you have to start there and always know that confidence is not a to encourage those. confidence is not a one-time done thing. It's a continuous thing every day, building your confidence, because know that life is going to always throw some unexpected stuff your way.
Yes, that's important. I'm glad that you mentioned that again too, that it's an ongoing process. Just like healing is an ongoing process, building that confidence is a continuous process. And
Mhm.
like you said, doing those positive things that we need to do, like listening to positive music, positive affirmation, and watching positive video that are encouraging, that changes your whole perspective, of seeing
Mhm.
things in a different way. So
Yes.
I thank you so much again, and thank you for taking the time to be my guest in this podcast, be an encourager. I thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me, and I appreciate you so much.